What made it a little easier for me too, well, let me not say easy, it was not easy, but I seen it firsthand from my parents with their work ethic. Every morning, since I can remember, every morning before we left for school, we had to go into my parents' bedroom, and my mother would pray for us every single morning without fail. If there was a time if we're rushing out of to go to school, we had to at least call her on the phone every morning praying. I see my mother pray every day, reading her word every day. I see my father who was Bishop Registry Witherspoon, by the way, and my beautiful mother is sitting right there. Shout out to my mom. But growing up seeing their work ethic made it a lot more clear to me how important it is to be disciplined. And just for the parents here, just as a reminder, your children are always watching. If they see you exercising, eating healthy, in most cases, they will grow up doing the same thing. So be careful what you do. We're always watching. But I prayed and asked God to make my business known across the country. I prayed and asked God to send people to my gym. I prayed and asked God to help me be a better trainer. But do you think if I were just going through the motions and not have discipline, that God will honor my prayer? Absolutely not. If we are not willing to give God something to work with when we are useless, and our prayers will not be answered. If you think about it, how can you be mad at God for not answering a prayer you don't even deserve? Many of us don't deserve what we're asking God for. If my clients came to a training session and decides to barely work out, do you think they deserve to get the results they want? Absolutely not. I am not the trainer that I'm like yelling at you like, oh, get the work done, get it. I will encourage you and push you a little bit, but that's just not the kind of trainer that I am. If I show up to our training session, I expect you to at least do the work. If you choose to cheat yourself, then that's on you. That just tells me you're not as serious and you don't want it that bad. But discipline. We have to wake up deciding we will honor our body, and again, we need to be gentle with it. I hear so many people body shaming themselves all the time. I get people come in, I hate this about me, I hate that about me. But if you don't like the way you look, what are you doing to make some changes? Your first change starts here, though. It's all mental. You need to love on yourself. And mind you, I'm sure I've been guilty of it as well, and I'm being complete transparent, I used to hate my nose. I literally was very insecure about my nose. Oh my God, I look in the mirror, I got my daddy's nose, like, oh. Like, Lord, now why you didn't give me my mom's, somebody a little bit smaller? But I was insecure about my nose. But I forced myself to love on it. Why? Because I finally took time to understand what God meant when he said these 3 words. It is good. When God made me, he said, it is good. When God made each and every one of you in here, he said, it is good. So wake up every morning bragging on yourself, ladies. Why not? Words of affirmation. Look in the mirror, and don't just look and say, look in the mirror, own it, and say, I am beautiful. I am a queen. And say it with a little attitude. I know we all got a little attitude in there. I am royalty. I will be kind to myself. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am unstoppable. I will work out today. I will eat healthy today. Speak life, because the more you tear yourself down, then comes the depression, then comes the doubt, then you start to second guess everything, and that's when it gets scary. That's when you start to see your health diminish, and that's exactly what the devil wants. And I, for one, refuse to give him that power. And don't be afraid to rest. Sleep is extremely important, and that brings me to my next point, benefits of getting adequate sleep. I was reading something on social media the other day, and it said, we need to stop glamorizing overworking. There is nothing healthy about not getting enough sleep, not eating properly, not exercising regularly, and not spending time with family or friends. Burnout is not a badge of honor, it's detrimental to your well being. We have been trained to grind, go hard, or go home, right? And you're wasting time by sleeping. The early bird gets the worm. And I know as a Black woman, I have to work a lot harder than others. So my grind is a little different, but I also understand there are levels to grinding. An example, when I first started my business, I was not getting enough sleep, and I wasn't eating that great because I was so focused on making sure that I had a successful business. I was focused on trying to promote my business, to get people to actually come to my gym. And I felt like there was a moment in time where I felt like I was failing. Because I don't know if there are any business owners in here, but starting out, it's very, very challenging. It's even still till this day. And so there were times where, as mentioned, I have a 6 a.m. class Monday through Friday, and a 6:30 p.m. class Monday through Friday. At the time, I was doing both classes. And it was just me for like the first 2.5, close to 3 years, just me doing these classes. And so there were many times where I'm showing up for my 6 a.m. class, and no one would come. I'm just sitting there like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm more mad nobody's here or if I could have been asleep. Goes back to, I don't play with my sleep. But it was very discouraging, very discouraging. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no way, I don't know if I could do this. But something deep down inside I had to keep going because I knew that was all God. He had a purpose and a plan for me in my business. And when I think about it, it brings so much joy because I think back on my journey, how it's easy to quit. It's easy to quit. There were moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay my overhead? How am I going to pay the bills? I actually cleared my savings to start my business. That's how much I knew it was for me. I knew God put this gift on me for a reason. I was very confident, and I knew, I was determined to have a successful business. I was passionate. I'm still passionate. And I also knew that the devil was trying to attack me serious because he's seen there was greatness all over me. So of course he's going to do all he can to try to attack my mind. And we're all human, so we all kind of go through those, but we got to bounce back. So yes, I felt like I was feeling depressed. I wasn't eating properly, and I seen it. I've always been petite my entire life, so it's easy to see if I'm losing weight. I noticed it, but I couldn't stand the way I was feeling. I'm like, how are you going to be a trainer trying to promote health and fitness and get people to encourage themselves to work out, but you're not even taking care of yourself? But one thing the devil tend to forget, I am a Witherspoon. I am a child of God, and we never tap out. We don't quit. We don't give up. We may fall, but we get back up. I am very competitive, and I refuse to fail. Again, I did not like how I was feeling. I did not like how I wasn't getting as much rest. So I said, enough is enough, and I had to tighten up and be more disciplined. I personally get between 7 to 8 hours of sleep a day. I have to get that. If I don't, you will know it. But I'm more productive and a lot more happier when I get my rest. Rest is vital for for your mental health. It increases it increases your memory. You have a better immune system, a healthier immune system. It reduces stress. It improves your mood and even better metabolism. So ladies, get your rest. It's okay to rest. And my last topic, before I get out of your hair, is benefits of giving you some exercise advice and tips for those who are overwhelmed by the idea of exercising. To maintain health and reduce your risk of health problems, Health professionals and researchers recommend a minimum of 30 minutes a day of either moderate to intense physical activity. Lifting weights. I know there are a lot of women who think they will bulk up if they lift weights and look like a man, and I'm here to tell you that is not true. That is false. Strength training enhances your quality of life. It improves your ability to do everyday activities. You maintain muscle tissue. It increases your strength. It improves bone health. It controls body fat. It decreases your risk of injuries. Strength training is good for everybody. And you don't need, I know there are some people who get a little discouraged when you walk in a gym because you see all this equipment. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Or you may see somebody who looks like they're very, very fit and you get intimidated. I understand, I get that. But you don't actually need a gym to get a good workout in. Everyone has a gym in the comfort of their own home. There are many, and I'm gonna show you some exercises that you can do that will be helpful, but I always tell my clients, the way I train, I get very creative with my workouts. You will never do the same workout twice. You might do some of the same exercises, but I like to get creative because it's my way of training my clients on how to train themselves. So there are, at home, I'm sure everyone has, and I'm gonna actually call my god sister Ebony up, who's gonna help me demonstrate. Give Ebony a hand. I love her. She's from Seattle, but she's currently temporarily living in Atlanta. Grab that backpack. Yes, please. So I'm also really big on form. It's extremely important that you have the proper form. I see some people, if I go to a LA Fitness or something and I'm watching and I'm seeing some people doing some exercises, squatting, for example, and I cringe when I see people not having the proper form, because what's gonna happen is you can easily blow your knees out. So whenever you are squatting, you always, and we squat every day. When you get up and sit down, that's a squat. So I hear people say, oh, I can't squat. Oh, yes, you can, because you just sat down. You see how you sat? That's how you squat. So when you are squatting, you wanna make sure that you are putting all the weight in your heels. And so you squatting just like you're sitting in a chair, getting the hips back, and then coming up with driving all the weight through your heels. Now, what you don't want to do, I know it's hard for some of you to see, but when you're squatting, do it on your toe a little bit. You don't want your knees coming over your toe. That is not, you will destroy your knees. So again, just think of how you're sitting in a chair. You're getting the hips back, putting all the weight in the heels, and you're coming straight up. So now, again, I know not everyone has weights at home, and that is totally fine, but guess what you can use? Canned foods. You can use canned foods. You can grab you a gallon of water, and I'm gonna have you put this backpack on. You can grab a gallon of water if you need heavier weight, or you can simply take a backpack. You can load it with books, and if you do this, you wanna make sure that you tighten the backpack so it's sitting higher on your back. If the backpack is low, you're putting entirely way too much tension on your back, and you don't want any back problems, right? So having your backpack higher, again, if you're wanting to add heavier weight, add some books. So what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna have her just do some squats, go a little bit wider. So there are different squats. There are traditional, which your feet are slightly outside your shoulders. More sumo, you're going wider. So this is a squat here. So I'm just gonna give you guys an easy, quick workout that you can do at home. You can actually do just like this, holding the canned foods. As mentioned, if you want anything heavier, grabbing a gallon of water. So if you did a squat, and I like to do interval training, right? Interval training, you burn a lot more that way. That's where you're doing an exercise for a minute, and maybe you rest for 30 seconds. Do an exercise for 2 minutes or rest for a minute. That's the interval training. You burn a lot more. There's people who are walking on the treadmill for an hour. I'm like, you could do a 30-minute high-intensity circuit training, and you burn way more than you are on the treadmill for an hour. So if you did a squat for a minute, so if that squats for a minute, and then right after, and you can stand, you'll take these canned foods, and you're gonna shadow box for 30 seconds. So you're just punching 30 seconds. So 1 minute squat, shadow box, 30 seconds, right? Okay, you can relax with that. And then from there, you can drop you can do push-ups. Now, I know a lot of people struggle with push-ups, and there are many different ways of doing a push-up. With one on there, you don't have to get on the ground. Most of you know how to do a push-up, right? Anyway, so either regular push-up on the ground, modify where you're on your knees doing push-up, but you can also do it on the wall as well. You go there. Having your feet back, so you're just going here, pushing straight to the wall, and then you're gonna explode up and power off on the wall. That's one way. Another way is when you explode up and let your hands come off, so push off. That's another way of doing a push-up. It's not as, if you have any aches and pains, this way is a lot safer on doing a push-up. And so then right after that, you can go back to the shadow box for 30 seconds, right? Or you have, and I'm not gonna make her get on the ground, what I call fire hydrants, where you're on your hands and knees, and you're taking one leg, and you're just going like this. You don't have to. You're just going, it is a major burn, and you will feel it all in your glutes. And then, of course, you don't never want to neglect your core. Core is extremely important because it supports your upper half and your lower half. So if you have a weak core, quite naturally, you're going to have issues with your back, your hips. Everything is connected. So having a strong core is extremely important. I can give you 1,000,001 different core exercises you can do. But all the exercises I just showed you, if you did each one for a minute, but in between each exercise, you do the shadow box for 30 seconds, I guarantee you will burn a lot and you will be sweating. You'll feel great after. Just go 30 minutes. 30 minutes. If you feel like that's too much for you, it's okay if you did 10 minutes. You got to start somewhere and work your way up. Again, being gentle with yourself. If you feel like you are struggling on a certain exercise, it's okay to take a break, because the most important part is just to move. That's what we're trying to get you to do, to move. Many people, and especially with the elderly, thank you, sis. I have a passion for helping the elderly as well. Like I love the elderly. They're so sweet. But I truly believe that my grandmothers would still be here if they were active. Sorry, I was not expecting that. So I try to get the elderly to understand the importance of, many people, you retire and then you just sit. You have to move. Because if you're just sitting there, then your health is going to start to diminish. So you can go on a light walk. Thank you so much. I was not expecting this. You can go on a light walk. Just move. So for anyone who have, your mother, your grandmother, or your grandfather, try to get them to move, because we're seeing and I think a lot of times we neglect them. We forget about them. We forget about them. So check on them, get them to move. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. A light walk, even if it's for 5 minutes. 5 minutes a day. That's it. But I try to get the elderly to understand how important it is to do that, because it changes everything. As I mentioned before, your mental. A lot of them, I see depression all over their faces. So for everyone in this room, understanding the importance of being active, eating healthy, your life depends on it. So you really have to ask yourself, how much do I really love myself? How much do I really love myself? We have to give God something to work with. So you can't be surprised if these health challenges come up and you're doing nothing about it. Even if you are doing something and all of a sudden you have a health challenge, because that happens, you're like, oh my Lord, like why? Why me? I'm doing everything right. I wish we knew the answer to that, but only God knows. And if we are believers, as believers, we still have to have faith. So I want to thank everyone for this opportunity. I hope that I was helpful. If you have any, thank you so much.